right, listeners, and welcome to another exceptional episode of Journey with Michael and Ryan. Thanks for stopping by.
How are we doing, team? It's good to have you here.
Yeah, we are, as we always say, we're very grateful for you coming here. And again, we just love sitting here, speaking our truth, speaking our words. And if you're stopping by and listening to us, well, we thank you.
Thank you. So what are we talking about today, Mr. Michael? Today we're talking about navigating the multi-faceted layers that is this life, right?
Yeah, all of the broad spectrum that is life. We're going to go into some, just how we live our own lives, our experiences, and how we navigated all through those different aspects of identification and various other, modalities of living. Because I think it's something that I went through, and I think a lot of people go through when you kind of go through your awakening and you go through different various levels of living and identity, and just this is for anybody who potentially might have a struggle of the what would you say, the separation of how to show up in the world, I guess. And go through all of that. So I'm very excited to talk about all that.
Well, it's a interesting journey to navigate, right? Because you have to know yourself before you can lose yourself, but you have to lose yourself before you can actually understand and accept who you are, right?
Hope you got your notebooks out, peeps.
Right,
that was beautiful.
There might be a few little quotes coming through today.
Oh yeah,
I'm feeling it.
I haven't heard that one from you before. The genius just popped out and it overcame you.
Oh yes.
Yeah, you're totally right. You've got to lose yourself to find yourself. And we were just talking about before the podcast about there was one particular time through my own journey of life where I really felt split. Because when I started going deeper into my spiritual practices, into my spiritual knowledge and all of that, I was moving into an identification of it, and just so I could absorb everything and go down the teachings of various teachers, and obviously going deep into our breathwork and rebirthing and plant medicine and all the good things. And at the time, I was an auctioneer, which I still do at the moment as well, and it's something I really do enjoy. It's given me a lot of amazing skills and ability, and I just love being in front of people, performing, and all of the human psychological aspects that come with all of that territory of being an auctioneer and doing real estate auctions and selling houses through auctions. And there was one time, it would have been probably about 3 years ago, at least now, where I was going deeper into my journey. And I was really torn between what do I do, because it just felt so, matrixy, just doing what I was doing in the real estate world, whilst then I was going and having all these beautiful bliss out, deep healing, trauma release sessions through whatever modality I was doing. And I felt quite torn. And it was, one point I actually was like, I've got to do something about this. And then I met this lovely woman called Deb, and she's a QHHT facilitator. She's a level 4. She's only one of few here in New Zealand. And, when something pops up into your purview, okay, cool, that's it. Went down that process and ended up going and doing a session with her. And that was a 7-hour session. And it was a really, really powerful session. Of going deep into the subconscious, and you've got to take 25 questions with you, and you go over your life story, and one of the big things that came up from that was I just felt lost. I felt like I couldn't be in both worlds because I was creating separation there, and so she really helped me through that process to really see that I created the separation. I needed to be one or the other. And B, she goes, well, the work that you're doing, and this is when I started to facilitate and start running workshops and things like that. She goes, well, why wouldn't you want to be in the world or in the side where people need the work the most, or they need the help the most? And that was like a light bulb moment. And I thought, that's so true. Like, why would I why would I create separation here to either have to be one or the other? Why can't I dance and play in both? And this is where, so that was my first time of really that shell or that armor started to fade away of having to be one or the other, and starting to dance and play in it. And so, and since that, it's been a huge just kind of amalgamation of, again, what you're saying, finding yourself and just being okay at it is all life. It's not one or the other, right?
How do you find it when people don't or can't grasp you and the concepts that you bring to the world?
When I'm out just being myself and talking about them?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? There's definitely a level of watching your own language, being careful with your language, not to say you're changing yourself, but certainly reading the room.
It's like understanding how to speak to an audience, right?
I agree.
And
yeah,
like understanding what the best form of delivery to like make someone feel comfortable with the conversation, not even comfortable, to make someone be able to grasp the idea, right?
Yeah, and I guess social media makes it a lot easier as well, because obviously through social media, my life is on social media is who I am in the real world, I guess is how you put it. So if I had clients or other colleagues following me on social media, they're going to see the stuff that I'm putting out, which is different stuff that they're used to. So they might already have an idea of kind of what I'm about before I even show up. But yeah, it's just choosing the words and the language that will be able to not make someone feel uncomfortable, because I'm not here to try and make anyone feel uncomfortable. That's not the thing, right? But it's just also just being true to yourself, and if someone's curious, and this takes it back to, I think we've spoken about this many podcasts ago about and I was like this too when I first started jumping on breath work or plant medicines, and I just wanted to tell the world about it and get people to come and do it. But that's not it, right? Because they're not ready to listen, or they're not ready to receive the message.
But even that, you've got to go through that and feel the rejection to actually realize it, right? Because it's like heavy, because there is a lot of rejection in it as you're trying to find yourself, as you're starting to learn about and experience what's possible for people. 90% of the world doesn't want to hear it.
Yep.
It's not their cycle round.
Yeah, exactly.
To go through the process, right? And it's really about accepting and understanding that, because the more you try to push someone to grasp a concept or to think the way you think, right, realistically, you're just pushing them further away.
And I'm not here to try and make anyone think what I think, but that is a stage you must go through. And so to go back to your question, how is it that I front up to people in all walks of life? Well, I just show up as me. I do talk about what I'm about, what I do, in a way that might be grasped or not. And if somebody's curious, then if they approach me and go, hey, what's this breathwork thing all about? Or, hey, I've noticed some change in you. You're really a lot more confident in doing this, or this has changed in you, or, whatever it is, then that's the invite to the conversation to go, okay, cool. This person's asking and I'm going to draw a little bit deeper. So that's something I've really worked on and getting quite good at, because it's just about the invite. And it's not about me going, hey, here it is. But ultimately, if it's also having the higher awareness, if somebody's going through struggles or they're having a bad run of things or whatever, it's just the check-in. Hey, how are you going? And it's just actually the amount of people who really feel a lot more cared for just by taking an extra few seconds of genuinely checking in with someone. It's so rushed in this day.
But even that can be met with resistance.
Yeah.
You've had a really clear experience of that, right? Jumping into the world again.
Yep.
Even just caring for someone, having communication with them, checking in to making sure they're okay. It can be met in the wrong way.
Yep.
Because people are so not used to it. And for me personally, it's like just going back into it. I know we've probably spoken about this before, but I was an engineer. I studied engineering out of high school, 3 years. years, worked as it for 4 years, realized I didn't want to do it anymore, started studying naturopathy, breath work, ran my own online coaching business for the last fucking few years. But literally a year ago, coming up to the day,
Wow.
I chose to step back into engineering purely for the fact, for job security, as me and Van moved up to Auckland and she was still finding her feet, and it had been close to a year and a half in her recovering from her concussion, and just like the year and a half of that was just sort of got to me. A few clients backed out of coaching, and I was just like, man, I'm making life really hard for myself because I know I have a set of skills that I could step into and earn really, really good money really, really quickly. So I just sort of followed that intuition that I got, because it was very strong. It was just like, go back to engineering. Like, why are you making life so difficult for yourself? And it was really, really strong. And it literally took me 3 days to find a really, really good job. Like, I went to I found a recruiter on the Monday, had a coffee with them on the Tuesday, had an interview on the Wednesday, and they offered me a job on the spot. So it was just like, the universe was just like, this is what you're meant to do. So I allowed myself to step back into that role. And after working and sort of being in the space of being a coach for 2 years, and like literally every single conversation I would have with people, either friends that are really, really close to me or clients that I've built really strong rapport with, was deep. You know, it wasn't surface level. It was like delving into the nitty gritty about understanding yourself. And it's like the people that come to me, because I work with clients predominantly with anxiety, mental health dysfunctions, it's like they're wanting to work through this shit. You know, they're turning up because they know that they're on the path to heal,
And they've made a decision and a choice
100%.
to seek it.
Definitely.
And that's why they are there in front of you. And so the permission was there for you to be able to go through this stuff with them.
100%, go deep, you know. And it was really, really interesting stepping back into the world, you know, back into engineering, you know, a very left brain, masculine dominant career path that was just simply met with so much resistance for me simply showing up as myself. And it was really, really difficult because it took me about 3 months for my nervous system to actually regulate to it and actually like not take it personally that I didn't actually know many people at my work on a deeper level, or only be able to have face value conversations, because when you try to just talk to someone, you know, by the way, we like to go deep, as you guys know. You listen to this fucking podcast, you guys are choosing to show up here as well, you're choosing to listen to the deep conversation, and it would just be met with blank stares. And like, I'm a naturopath, trauma release breathwork practitioner. I have a very inquisitive mind when it comes to people, and it's like, even when it comes to like little things about like fatigue or tiredness or stress, I want to go deeper, because my mind is like, oh, I wonder why that's happening. I wonder where that's coming from. And just that like inquiry got me in so much trouble. And it was so interesting to navigate, because then I just had to realize and really accept within myself that person couldn't actually show up in a workplace. And it was really interesting to navigate, because then it was like, fuck, well then if me showing up as me is being met with resistance, but I've chosen to step back into this role, how am I going to navigate this? How am I really going to navigate this? Because it's like, do I lose myself and try to be someone I'm not? Or do I just understand that this is like a role that I'm playing, that I'm choosing to be in, you know, just like other people are choosing to show up in. So it's like to learn to play and match that energy was really the journey. And it took me fucking months, man. It really took me months. And people at my work think I'm a fucking weirdo. And people at my work know that I do a podcast. They know that I'm a trauma release breathwork practitioner. They know that I'm a naturopath. And I've probably spoken to 2 of them in a cohort of about 90 about breathwork, about trauma, about anxiety. And it's really, really interesting, you know, really, really interesting. and then it like goes into it's like, well, am I losing myself in this role? No, I'm just learning to understand situations even deeper.
Yep. You're learning to meet people where they're at.
100%. And that was the beauty of the coaching that I used to do as well, right? Because I loved meeting people where they're at, not expecting them to be anywhere. Because for me, all of this work is a journey of self-acceptance, right? And if I couldn't accept people where they're at in their role and the way in which they're choosing to play life, like that's on me. That ain't on them, So it's been such a huge, huge learning curve. And it's taken a lot of empathy to not be able to delve deeper into the things that I see simply for my own need or want or desire to help people.
I hope, brother.
I hope.
Because, I mean, I'm going to share a story that's exactly the same, right? You know all about it.
100%.
But before I do, that's a really big learning that I've watched you go through, but watched you also blossom from it. And there's been, one particular person from your business and company who's now starting to do some work with us at Beta. So there's one person that kind of perked up and was like, hey, can I come and get involved? And he's really enjoying it.
100%. Ledge. Sinoj, you fucking legend.
Sinoj, yeah. We're going to test you, Sinoj. We're not going to say anything that we mentioned you on the podcast. We're going to see if you mention it so we know that you're listening. But yes, brother, like that's exactly it. So a little bit about my last few months. While the real estate market here in New Zealand has basically just taken a bit shit in the last year and a half, and it's not looking any better for the next kind of 12 months. And as we start going into a recession, or we actually are in a recession already, it's just hasn't been announced. So lots of things are going on. So me as an independent auctioneer, running my own business or contracting under an umbrella, the numbers really started to get light, and I made some really good money when the market was really hot, and I had all that as backup, and I thought, okay, great, that'll get me through until it picks up again, and then it didn't, and then I had to shift and go and do some general auctions and work in the warehouse there as well, while I was just kind of working out what we're doing, as we were building Beta up as well, and so lots of different moving pieces. And then I was like you, I thought, okay, I'm making life difficult for myself. I have great sets of skills that people will pay well for, so I'm going to call in a job. And I'm going to go back into some employment. So I did. I went, searched, and I found one. And so I am now a national sales manager for a retail brand here in New Zealand. There's lots of amazing perks in the role, and I really enjoy it. And I don't have to chase money right now, and that's great for building our business and taking that stress off. But obviously it's a time sacrifice, right? That's what it is. When you're making a wage, you're sacrificing your time for somebody to pay for that.
For sure.
And so it's just maneuvering the schedule, but exactly the same. So I've been in the role now 2 months, and I've hard and fast gone through the same lessons that you have, but just a bit harder and a bit faster. I think because probably I'm in a management level, and so it was just really brought up there. So again, I had to learn very quickly that and I did actually make a conscious effort to not dull that, but to kind of bring it back a little bit to try and meet them at their level.
You're an intense guy.
Yeah, I'm intense. I'm direct.
Okay, no.
But I've got a big heart. It all comes from love.
Oh, for sure.
And yeah, I about the third or fourth weekend, it got met with such resistance, and so that's the way I obviously needed to learn that lesson, and I did very quickly, and I turned it around. I thought, okay, great, perfect. That's the rules of this game that I'm playing, and so I shifted and changed, and it's great now. But yeah, that was a really, really interesting lesson. And again, like you, like I am in this world with all these people, and they're all lovely people. You know, they're all just living their life and doing their thing and trying the best and living the best life that they can. And I'm in a management role where I can try and help them, grow them in ways that I can. But ultimately, it's coming down that I'm in employment, I'm working for someone, and I've got to do it by their way. And so that's fine, that's all good. But yeah, it's certainly something I had to sit with was, am I losing myself? Am I changing who I am for the sake of an income?
Yeah, for sure.
Or am I just completely being unaware here and just going in as a wrecking ball? Because that doesn't get anyone anywhere. And so it was the latter. Obviously, I was just going. I was too beelining to, air quote, be myself, without realizing the implications of that. And I realized very hard and very quickly, and adjusted and pivoted, or persevered, and I pivoted. So I guess that's what the whole theme of today's podcast is about, is the dance, right? The dance of life, the maneuvering of all of the different sentiments that you're in and the people that you meet, and yes, there's authentic and truth and all of that, but there's certain levels as well.
100%.
So it's brilliant. I love it. It's the game of life.
Yeah, well, it's forever changing, right? And it sort of goes back to that identity, and it's like, what identity do you want to have? Like, what role are you here to serve? And it's like allowing yourself to not just think in the now, but also think long term, because we have goals, we have aspirations, we have a beautiful thing that we are building with Beta, and it's going to take time. It's going to take time. It's going to take energy for us to get it to the point where that's our full-time focus, because all good things take time. But it's not just about sales and money. For us, it's about building a brand, building community, and that takes time. And for us to be able to do that, we need to be stable within ourselves, right? So then it's about losing the identity. I'm me.
Yes.
I'm not a breathwork practitioner. I'm not a naturopath. I'm not an engineer. It's like those are merely just things that I do. They're not who I am. And this is where people can get really confused, because I am statements are so powerful, right? Even like statements like my are so powerful, because every time we say I am or my, that all has a story attached to it. That all has an identity attached to it. And it's really hard to strip away a story and identity, because who are you without it? Who would I be if I lost my job as an engineer tomorrow? I would still be me. But because I don't identify myself as or through that role, it wouldn't be as shattering as to someone who has only that role as an identity. And this is where it becomes an interesting thing to navigate, especially when you're looking at it from consciousness and awareness. There's a lot of people out there that just want to be an engineer. There is no right, there is no wrong. This is purely just our perspective of the way of seeing the world, right? But because there's no attachment to the identity, it's easy to be fluid with who you are or what you're doing, right? Just allowing yourself to step into the role. And it's been really, really interesting, because the more comfortable I've got with that fluidity, the more confident I've actually become in who I am. And I've noticed that the more I let go of an identity, the more I'm actually just able to show up as me. And it's beautiful, because there's so many things, because I suffer with social anxiety for so fucking long, most of my life, probably up to maybe 8 months ago, where there wouldn't be self-doubt going into a situation. And now I can navigate so many different things, and I just feel totally comfortable doing it, because I don't, it's just a shift that's happened through pushing the edges and losing the identity of who I think I am, right?
Yep.
It's beautiful.
That's the universal equation, I would say. The more you focus on trying to gain something through meta, the less it's going to come.
Totally.
The more you just release and let go, the more room there is for it to show up.
And it's, yeah, totally. And it's even just like little things. You know, like going to a party on Saturday night that I literally knew no one about, and literally knew only a few people. It seems like such a simple thing, but a year ago I would have probably not gone.
Yeah.
I would have found an excuse not to. But the difference was this weekend I was like excited to go. I was like wanting to go. I was interested in meeting new people. Yep. Which is beautiful. Really, really beautiful.
That's a lovely dance on its own.
Oh, for sure.
But it's something you got to work up to.
Oh, definitely.
It's interesting you say that, because it's something that's never been an issue for me. Like I if I choose to go into a room and meet people, I will. But if I choose not to, then I won't. And people will feel that. And it has been beautiful to watch you blossom into your generator energy. Like that's you, man. Manifesting generator. Get into that room and go out there. Utilize your energy. But it's that I was going to say sacrifice. It's the disillusion of the self constantly. Just constantly. And it's fucking hard work.
Oh, shit.
You know? Like I'll be sitting up and going, I'll go into something, and instantly you can just feel yourself judging the situation. But then it's just the judgment on yourself. It's just going, and you got to pull that back and go, no, that everyone is exactly the same. We are all connected. We are all one. We are all just doing the best we can for ourselves at the level that we are all playing at. So how can I facilitate the ease of this transaction, which is the communication or the networking or whatever I'm doing, to make this as simple as possible?
For sure. Totally.
And it doesn't matter if you're a monk sitting in a cave for your whole entire life, or you are the biggest egomaniac, money hungry motherfucker who is just, arrogant as fuck. You're both the same. It's
not one is no better than the other.
No, there's not. And if you think one is better than the other, then you kind of are missing the point, because it's all life. This is all the game. This is all for us. This is all the virtual reality dimension that we are all in. And to think that one situation is better than the other, and this is something that took me a long time to grasp, then you're creating separation.
Yes.
You're creating separation within yourself. And creating separation within yourself always leads to chaos.
It's a privilege to be on the path, and if you are on the path, you are in a state of privilege more often than not, right? Because you've met your basic needs.
Correct.
Food, shelter, to actually be able to move up the level of self-actualization, where some people don't have a choice. They're so blissfully unaware that to think that they should do things a different way is just arrogant.
Yes.
And yes, we're not talking about the fucking extremes of people.
You're always going to have extremes.
To that. There's always going to be extremes. But we're just talking about the general public, the general population, the way in which certain people choose to show up, the ignorant bliss, as they say, right? And I think that's where it can become a little challenging, right? I think I've said this quote before, referred to the story before about, it's like the work isn't just about trying to find yourself. It's like it's actually about integrating that and bringing that out into the world, because until you can actually do that, you haven't really fully done the work. Like if you can't actually be in the world but not of the world, then you can't do it.
Yep.
If you're just avoiding it, you're not paying taxes, you're fucking living on the dole, but you're still meditating and doing the work. If you don't have a job, if you're not supporting your partner properly or financially, if you're not showing up as a fucking human being and doing the human things, then realistically, what is the point? And a lot of people may listen to this and be like, oh, it's fucking bullshit. We don't want to get caught up in all that matrix. But realistically, it's like, this is the society that you've been born into. Yep. You have to learn to integrate it into life. Otherwise, all you're doing and all the work you're doing is merely pointless, because all you're surrounding yourself is with other people that are doing the work, right? And then how are we actually going to change and influence the world if we're not actively choosing to be putting ourselves in situations where we can actually show other people very subtly that there is a different way of being?
Yes. Well put, brother. Couldn't have said it better myself. The two words that come to mind are spiritual bypassing. And even let's now reframe that to human bypassing.
Hugely.
That's human bypassing.
Definitely.
You are here as human. You know. So don't bypass the human.
For sure.
Because everyone's heard of spiritual bypassing, but that's some human bypassing stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That you chose to be here at this time, to incarnate this world right here, right now, right? So don't deny yourself what you've chosen, because that's arrogance in its highest form. You know, you're spitting on the source's, you know, grandiose ability of your own choosing, right? And we talk about this a lot in beta. I mean, this is a massive concept in beta. It's the four states of being. You know, again, let's talk about the monk that lives in a cave for his whole entire life and isn't of the world, or the other end of the spectrum as well. If you're living in one or the other, you're not being the full rounded experience, right? If you are, you know, choosing to eat plant-based, to, you know, meditate, go and do, you know, live off the grid, live in a van, you know, whatever it will be. If you're choosing not to be a part of it, that's fine, but you're not helping and influencing others to take bite-sized pieces of your learnings to implement into their life.
Totally.
And then that's, I mean, you could go, let's talk more into the human now. If you're more on the spiritual spectrum and you're not working on your body, then you're not helping your own divinity. Totally. You're not strengthening your vessel for the life that you are living. But whereas if you're constantly in the body, just training, not focusing on any of your own spirituality or anything like that, well, then you've put all the eggs in that basket as well, so you're not fully rounded. And then if you're all in the emotion, and you're constantly in the throes of chaos and emotion and feeling and all that, and you're not doing the dance and helping your body, or sitting and trying to work through the stuff through your mind or somatically as well, then again, you're not having the full, well-rounded experience of what we are doing. So it's the dance to create your own life philosophy, move the pieces around, take your learnings from each different sector, and then show up as that in the life that you are leading, you are creating, whatever you're putting together, understanding that when you are in the mainstream, I guess if you want to put a label to it, that you will have to meet people at their level. Because that's empathy and that's respect.
For sure.
You know, this is really simple, but I've had to relearn to shake people's hands. Rather than hug people.
Instead of hugging them. Funny, yeah, totally.
I look back to my first few weeks at this role, and I was like going for hugs, and I was like, oh wait, actually that's probably not appropriate, to be honest. And so I'm
shaking people's hands,
learning to shake people's hands.
That's so funny.
So it's funny, right? Like it's really, those little nuances are like, you know, I surround myself with people. Every time I see one of my people who are in my life, it's just big hugs, and it's like,
oh, for sure.
What's up? But again,
do you know what I find funny when you go to hug someone and they're like, oh no, we have to hug so our hearts touch. But for God's sakes, if you're making a fucking hug awkward for people, just leave it the fuck alone. Like, that for me is like one of those things that really, really gripes me. I'm like, for fuck's sake, don't
Hold
make
on.
a hug awkward. Let's just hug. Who gives a fuck what side our heart touches? Also, the resonance of our heart is fucking 6 foot. I'm sure it can reach over our fucking chests.
Totally, bro. And you've missed the point of actually energy.
Exactly. It's like all of the things that you're doing. Surely you must know the concept of energy.
and it always comes with, brother, let's heart to heart. And they'll move their head to the left-hand side. And you're like, oh. Okay.
Please don't make a hug awkward.
Enjoy the hug.
Yeah, 100%.
I love giving a good hug.
Fucking nice. So do I.
Big old bear hug. Yeah. So again, yeah, that's an interesting thing I've had to relearn.
Yeah. Totally.
Well, not relearn, just
Just not have it be as your go-to. That's it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
'Cause
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah,
like
for sure.
it's just a subconscious thing because it's like hugging is normal, similar to saying I love you.
Yep.
You know, so we're having a conversation today, and as I was walking out of the room, I was at work, and I was like, "Love you, brother." As I was walking into a thing, I was like, "I wonder if anyone heard that."
Yeah.
You know.
And for me, I didn't even. I said it back, and it was that's just normal.
For sure.
Yeah, I would have been in the office as well. But anyways, so yeah, the dance.
It's a dance, baby, and yeah, man. I mean, all of it just comes again for me personally because this is my own bias. Is that all of it's about self-acceptance, right? No matter what work you're doing, whether you're doing any work or you're not, it's like the discomfort we feel in life is because there's an aspect of ourselves that we think is wrong or we don't accept, right? But if we can learn to accept all of ourselves, then it doesn't really matter what situation we
Yep.
show up in, right? Because there is no identity attached to the way in which we think the world has to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like very similar for me, it's like I meet people with so much empathy and compassion simply because of the work that I've done on myself, and I know the struggles that I've had, and just working with so many, like hundreds and hundreds of people over the last few years. It's like every single person is different. Every single person has a different story, but the root of it all is always very, very similar.
Yep.
So who am I to put judgment on someone who's already judging themselves?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And so it's like that's something that just sits with me all of the time, right? Because I know the struggles that people go through. I've been through the struggles personally myself, so why would I create more suffering for someone that's already suffering?
Yep.
Whether they know it or not.
It's very true, man.
Mm.
I even look at people will come around in time if you just continually show up as yourself.
100%,
And
serious.
a great example of that is actually my family. So, and it's just to me it's small steps, to them it's huge steps. But my dad just turned 60 on the weekend. Probably for the last, I reckon, 4 or 5 months, he's taken a cold shower every morning. Beautiful. And he takes one pretty much before he goes to bed now.
Well done.
And for him, that's huge. And I just was like, I'm so proud of you. I'm like, where does it come from? He goes, oh, it's from you. I'm like, well, I've been having cold showers now for probably 5 years. So that's 5 years of me not necessarily talking about it, but people understand it. You know, every now and then I'll talk about it. But it took him 5 years, and now he's having cold showers, and he's like, well, that's great. Now, my little sister Bianca, same thing. She's just started to do cold showers probably about 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Perfect.
And she's not doing it all the time, but she's in, and she was telling me about it, and she was really proud of it. Her husband, my brother-in-law, same thing. He steps in and out of doing different work, and he's doing that. And then there's my other little sister, Diane, who jumped on our 28-day state change program. Yeah, I just saw her. She just flew over here from Australia for a few days. Saw her on the weekend. And, you know, she was born with a rare disease called Cruzon syndrome. So she was in and out of hospital for the first 6 years of her life, and I think she had 25 surgeries or something like that before she was 6. And then multiple surgeries, and she had these plates grafted onto her skull with these little things, and mum and dad had to turn these keys once a day, and it would open up the skull a millimeter each day. Yeah. So she went through all of that, and then probably about 8 years ago, she got hit by a drunk driver, and she was almost died, and her neck, disconnected, and she was in a coma for many weeks.
She's a fighter, man.
Yeah.
She's a fucking fighter.
She had to learn to walk again, and all of that, and
resilience.
She's lost sight in her eye, and she's lost feeling in the left side of her body and in her ear, and but even that. So she finally took the plunge and jumped into our coaching program. And from that, I just see her blossoming. She's just doing some breath. She's actually coming for a rebirth with you tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure.
To start going through. So again, it's just, I'm not bringing it to even my family, but, because they will see the shifts and changes in my life, they see what I'm about and what I'm creating, that they're starting to jump on and go, oh, well, there's something to that. And they're just starting. So it goes back to the scenario we're talking about before, that, people, when they're not ready, they're not able to hear the message. It's as simple as that.
Totally.
Until they choose. And so it's been really nice just to see that. And if that's all they do, well, that's great. Whatever. There's still what a beautiful segue that they never would have had in their life unless I was out doing my thing.
Totally. Well, it's a big lever to pull, Mr. Michael. Even just the cold showers, a huge lever, and that's epic. And it really does show, like, just how long it can take to influence the people around us, just simply through it. And it's like it's not like you're even doing it to influence, but it's like, especially with family, like, when, even as a naturopath, like, I have so many members of my family that could come talk to me about fucking so many of the things that they're going through, and I have the answer.
Yeah.
Do they ask? No, because they don't see me as a naturopath, right? They see me as that little dweeb that used to be a troublemaker.
Yep.
And because that's the identity and that's the story they've created around it, right? And it's like, I used to get so upset by it because I had the identity of being a naturopath, but now the more I go through it, the older I get, the wiser I get, the more I start to understand myself. It's just like, no, that's not how they see me, and they never will. And that's okay. There's three self. It's like who you think you are, who other people think you are, and who you think other people think you are.
Yeah.
So it's like it's always going to be that dance, right? Because the way in which I see myself is not the way in which they see me. And then the more you start to just merely do things for yourself, and the more your energy shifts, the more the people who are curious, the more the people whose cycle it is to go a little deeper, to start to understand, to heal the trauma for not only themselves but their family, their family's family, and all that, and have to carry the fucking huge fucking load. Why did we even choose to do this work, Michael? It's fucking hard.
I know. I know.
It's like that's just our turn.
Yep.
It's the blessing and the curse that has been like bestowed upon us. It's like that's the reason we chose our parents to come here and put ourselves through hell so that we can heal ourselves and start to work through the lineage a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we've both almost rebirthed both our sets of parents.
Oh yeah.
I've only got my dad to go.
Dad, let's go, Papa.
Let's go, Papa. Enjoy your cold showers, mate.
But even that in itself, right? It's like I've been a rebirthing practitioner for 3 years, and it took 3 years for my parents to come to a workshop.
Yep.
And it was beautiful to guide them through that and to be able to share that experience with them and to like hold them in that space and just like be met with tearful eyes afterwards and being told that they're proud of you.
Oh, it was amazing.
It was beautiful.
It really was. So we just keep trooping on.
100%.
Yeah.
And then it's beautiful because, the more you navigate through all the other aspects of life and the more we can show up in different ways, the more you learn about yourself, the more challenges you face, the more you can start to understand your strengths, if you just keep doing one thing. And although be it some people may do it really, really well, it's like you're not really challenging yourself to step outside of yourself, right?
Yeah. I guess this is just a really blunt message for anyone who's out there listening. And if you're listening to this, you're already curious about other ways of life. Like if you haven't yet started to experience, well, you soon will. I mean, you seeked us out for something. You're not going to just get people accidentally listening to this podcast. So I guess the blunt message here is that you can live any life you want in any way that you want. Do some work on yourself, whatever that is. It can take a lifetime, or you could jump straight and dive deep and start going through a little bit more. What would you say? A little bit more hard and fast route that you and I took. But whatever you do, just do it willingly, and if it truly isn't making you happy, then you have the choice to change. It's as simple as that. 100%. You either choose to stay or you can choose to go.
And before you change the thing you're doing, it's like, ask yourself, like, if I step into something new, is it me that's truly the problem?
Yep.
You know, environment's a huge thing.
Yep.
But sometimes the environment we need to change is the internal environment inside ourselves, right?
Yep.
And like, yes, we do need to sometimes change the external environment as well. But it's like, if you're just going to drag all your problems with you, you're going to drag your perspectives with you, then first start there.
Yep. Well, it's the same with relationships.
100%.
If you don't change yourself, you're going to keep continually attracting the same people in your life. Same as jobs. Same as everything. You're going to keep attracting the same thing and have the same issues. It'll be blissful for the first few months, because it always is, and then it'll just get back into, oh fuck, it's the same things, and oh my god, it followed me. No, it didn't follow you. You just dragged it along with you. So what I'm trying to say here is that out in the air quote matrix, what we're doing here with the tools and everything we speak about and teach about and all that, it preps you to handle and respond better in whatever you're doing. So then you start enjoying what you're doing more. And when you enjoy what you're doing more, you become more abundant. When you become more abundant, you have more freedom. When you have more freedom, you have more peace.
Totally.
Well, that's my, what would you say, mantra. I seek freedom. For me, I seek freedom because I find absolute peace and freedom.
Totally.
And for me, in this world that we live in, financially free is something I'm seeking, and that's why we're building our business. That's why we work really hard in our jobs, and we give everything to it, even though we're still building other things. And it's just the hierarchical level of order. Sometimes it's going, okay, totally. All right. How does that work? And then it's just communication and navigating it with whoever's in your life, and just do it with a full heart.
Do everything with a full heart.
I think it's a good way to finish, right?
It's a beautiful way to finish.
Do it with a full heart. Well, peeps, thank you for stopping by. We always love talking to you. I love talking to you, brother.
You too, brother.
How good is this?
I love it.
We're over 20 episodes by the time this airs.
Yes, we are, sir.
We are. So we've made it to the top 5% of the 5%.
We're getting there, baby. We're getting there.
Do you know how we can get there faster, peeps? By you sharing. Get us out there. Get more listeners for us. Totally. We just looked at the numbers the other day. They're starting to really start ticking over now.
Definitely. It's beautiful.
Consistency is winning this game.
Continue to practice the secret to success, baby.
Oh, yeah. So we love you all. Thank you for listening. And as always, if you want to reach out to me and Ryan, we're always here to chat.
100% beautiful people. Thank you guys for showing up, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Ciao.